joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Ashley, did you know We Need to Talk is going into its 10th season, and we are bringing a digital show every single week.
So we're going to highlight women in sports, whether you're playing, whether you're commentating, whether you're working behind the scenes. I'm looking forward to us having the platform to lead the charge in that.
I'm so excited to talk with you every single week on We Need to Talk now.
Because everyone's in for a treat. It's going to be fun.
Today, with the support of the NFL, a new playbook is being written, one where we all play for the same team. Across 27 cities, the National Gay Flag Football League provides inclusive play for over 4,000 LGBTQ+ players and allies. Under these lights, walk-ons are welcome.
Your sports news all the time.
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights
What a finish at the final round of play.
and in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
There are some things in life that you can't quite explain.
An extraordinary story.
Maybe it sounds flawless, looks effortless, or makes you feel like a part of history.
The first ever goal for BFC.
And when all of those phenomenons come together, it's perfect. Pitch perfect.
Welcome into CBS Sports HQ and what will be a wild NFL wildcard weekend. I'm Jordan Giorgio. We have a double dose of NFL action on this Saturday, and it all begins in Houston, where the Texans host the Chargers for a 4:30 kickoff, followed by a classic AFC North battle in Baltimore when Lamar Jackson and the Ravens host their division foe, Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We begin in Houston, though, where we're taking you all the way up to kickoff. Both teams warming up, hoping to remain alive as the postseason fun begins. And for more on what to expect in this one, let's go ahead and send it out to our own Evan Washburn, who has more from Houston.
Greetings from Houston, getting set to kick off Wild Card Weekend with Texans and Chargers, an intriguing matchup of two teams led by dynamic young quarterbacks and rugged defenses that will set the tone. And for the Texans and C.J. Stroud, it's admittedly been an up and down regular season, but they feel refreshed by the postseason. And talking to Stroud, he feels like all the challenges of the regular season, really opportunities for growth for him and this team. And feels like since an embarrassing loss on this field in Week 17 against the Ravens, that this offense has had more time on the practice field, and they're dialed in and primed to be at their best here in the playoffs. As for Justin Herbert and the Chargers, they obviously come into this game with a lot more than just football on the mind as they continue to think about their community in Los Angeles and the wildfires. And talking to players and coaches, he said it adds perspective to what this game is really about. Now, on a much less important note, they do feel like they're peaking at the proper time. They've won 3 straight offensively, averaging a little less than 40 points per game. And for Justin Herbert, he understands the opportunity of this game as he's continuing to search for the taste of a playoff win.
Huge opportunity in front of QB1 for LA. As we get you back to our CBS Sports HQ studio set, I'm Jordan Giorgio alongside Logan Ryan and Danny Cannell with you, taking you all the way up to kickoff from Houston. You guys, Harbaugh magic has just been sprinkled all over this LA team. Last season, 5-12. Now they're in the playoffs. Finished this regular season 11-6. What can you say, Danny, about how Harbaugh has turned around this franchise?
This is exactly what they brought him in for, was to establish a winning culture and a winning mindset. And I think probably most importantly, Logan, is a identity of what they want to be. And when you hire Jim Harbaugh, you know you're going to be a physical team that's going to be a run-first team, even if you've got a young, talented quarterback in Justin Herbert, and you're going to be led by a defense that when you bring in Jesse Minter, who had an incredible time in Baltimore and Michigan, that you're going to be a physical team. And there's a physical toughness and a mental toughness comes along with it. And I think the players have bought into what Jim Harbaugh has been selling since the moment he walked into that door. And speaking of that, mental, physical toughness, I think that's one of the reasons they came in with this 3-game win stretch at the back end of the season when things get to be a little bit of crunch time. They were able to rise up to the occasion, and I would expect more of the same from them in the postseason.
Absolutely. I've been in the locker room where they bring in new coaches, and everyone says the same thing. We're going to change the culture. We want to play smart, tough football. We want to bring in identity. And that is exactly what Jim Harbaugh has brought. He brought a team that's tough to beat. They don't beat themselves. They don't get penalized a lot. They can run the ball on offense. They can stop the run defensively. And they have a great young quarterback who's playing some of his best football. They have an identity now, and that's what you need in the NFL. You need a way and a belief in that locker room. How are we going to win the games, Coach? What are you going to bring here? You're going to bring wins, but how are we going to win? The Chargers are a team that looks like they can win in the playoffs now in year one. I don't think Chargers fans were expecting to happen this soon. So now that he's able to do that, that's a tough out. Yeah. When you want a playoff team, you want a team that does not get beaten easily, is not going to beat themselves. That's exactly what the Chargers are, a tough out in the playoffs for years to come.
Yeah, and it's nothing new for Jim Harbaugh. We saw the programs and franchises that he's turned around in the past. I do want to get deeper into his quarterback. You both alluded to Justin Herbert. It's crazy that he's going to be seeking his first NFL playoff win. It's wild to say, considering how long he's actually been in the league. I'll start with you, Logan. What are you expecting to see from him today?
Just efficiency. I think he's understanding that he just got to take what the defense gives him. He has a great third down slot receiver, #1 weapon in Ladd McConkey, who's a rookie, and he's doing that so soon. They have a great running offense, and that's what their offense is based off, the run game. When he got paid early in his career, a lot of us players rolled our eyes because he hasn't had a playoff victory. He hasn't done a lot other than potential, but he has all the skill sets. And the Chargers decided to pay him, and he's proved them right this year because I don't think he feels like he has to make up or go outplay a Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson. He's kind of coming to his own style, which is manage the game, make the key plays you need to in the moments, and win the game at the end. Big contracts get justified by playoff wins. Now's the time. He has a good team around him. He doesn't have to be the star player, but he's got to be the quarterback and the leader. A playoff win will definitely justify the big contract he got.
I've said this for a couple years now. I think Justin Herbert flies under the radar because he plays in a team that, the Rams won the Super Bowl. They were kind of the team in L.A. But if he was on the Dallas Cowboys, if he was on the New York Giants, if he was on a Philadelphia Eagles, I think he'd be so much more scrutinized and criticized because they don't get that much attention. I know there's 32 franchises and everybody has pressure, and being an NFL franchise QB is a position where you're going to get a lot of criticism, but he has kind of flown under the radar. And if he doesn't win a game this season, I think that's going to amplify somewhat, but it feels like the pairing with Jim Harbaugh to take some of that pressure off of his shoulders. The thing that he's given is J.K. Dobbins, who, great news that he's healthy and he's going to be there. When J.K. Dobbins is on the field for this team, they average 24.3 points per game. Without him, it goes down almost 3 points to 21.2 points per game. So that's huge. I think you're going to see more of that, but it's about managing the game. And some people use that as a negative term. I think that's what you require to be a winning quarterback in the NFL. And so I would expect Justin Herbert to play that role of game manager, make the big plays when they're there. He's got enough athleticism. If he needs to run the ball, he can do that. He can make all the throws. I think you'll see that game manager on display today.
That's an interesting point. Flying under the radar, maybe getting away with some things because you're not on a bigger franchise team. Do you agree with him on that?
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Look, I played for the New England Patriots, big market. I played for the New York Giants, big market. And I also played for the Tennessee Titans. And when you play well, it's great. You get Pro Bowl votes. You get all this attention. But when you play bad, you have to hear it. And a lot of players in these small markets, we look at Jacksonville, right, with Trevor Lawrence. If he played like that in New York, they would compare to Daniel Jones. Their numbers were similar. But how is Daniel Jones perceived as opposed to Trevor Lawrence, right? So those markets really dictate on how you can handle that pressure because it is loud. If he was in a different market, it may be different. So be it. I think his coach takes a lot of that off him, like Danny said. And now he can go, and he had those first couple years to figure it out. Now he can blossom.
Well, we don't know if he's going to be getting away with that much longer as Herbert is seeking his first career NFL playoff win. Let's get to his counterpart here, C.J. Stroud. He is 1-5 against winning teams this season. QB to QB, Danny, what are you wanting to see from him?
I want to see him play within himself. I'd like to see him be more consistent. I think that's probably the thing this year. We were talking about this, Logan and I, earlier today. I wished I could have seen him with a full complement of healthy wide receivers. Tank Dell, remember the emotional moment he was on the field in tears to see his best friend lost for the season?
That's awesome.
Send him a little shout out. That's pretty cool to see the t-shirt that he's wearing in support of his guy. Stephon Diggs, that was supposed to be a huge addition to this wide receiving corps. They've missed him most of the season. So this is part of the process of becoming a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He had so much expectations heaped on him this offseason, myself included. I love what I saw his rookie year. Then you've seen a little bit of regression, kind of come back to earth a little bit. Teams get film on you. They start exploiting your weaknesses. But I would like to see him today go out there, Jordan, and have a really solid performance, which I think he will. But again, talk about managing the game for Justin Herbert. I think it's the same with C.J. Stroud. You can't press and try to do too much when it's not there. Maybe his interceptions have gone up somewhat this season. Keep those in check against this defense, and they'll be in this game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I got to see a chip on his shoulder.
Okay.
And I think this year the expectations were so high on him, and we thought he was just going to soar, right? But last year he came in as a number 2 overall pick, not the first quarterback taken, and there was a big chip on his shoulder. I need to see it today. Playoff football is about getting your team in position, and the quarterbacks go win it in the end. And that's how we judge these guys. That's how we judge Lamar Jackson and our doubts on him. That's why we love to see Joe Burrow in the playoffs, because he's pulled it off time and time again in the biggest moments. And obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady's. That's how we judge the GOATs in our game. We got 2 young quarterbacks going at it. I want to see C.J. Stroud get magical at the end of this game. I don't think he has the better team today. I do not think they're better than the Chargers, but I think the game will be close. Which one of these quarterbacks will step up and go pull it off in the end?
All right, this line is close. Chargers favored here by 2.5. With all this kind of being said, who has the edge today? What's your game pick, Logan?
I like both teams. It's really tight, but I'm going to see C.J. Stroud and the Texans get it done at home. I think they're getting slept on. I think D'Amico will use that to his team's advantage. And C.J. Stroud has done it in these moments. He had a playoff victory last year under his belt. So I think that experience and him being doubted on these last couple of weeks, I think he pulls out a great performance today.
I'll take the Texans in the points, and I loved it when it was at a full 3 points. It's down to only 2.5 right now. I'll still take the Texans as a home dog, but I do think the Chargers get a close win, but I think the Texans cover.
All right, it's going to be a fun one over on CBS. Kickoff is slated for 4:30. We're taking you all the way up to kickoff here on CBS Sports HQ. Just getting started. Let's help you win some money next with some of the best props to place this wild card weekend. Stay with us. Well, the wait is over as the NFL playoffs are here, and we're taking you all the way up to kickoff from Houston. Texans, Chargers getting set to kick off over on CBS, and there's Chargers wideout Ladd McConkey getting loose ahead of kickoff. And if you're looking to throw some money down on Wild Card Weekend, you're in luck because Mackenzie Brooks and Todd Furman are here to help you lock in some prop bets in the upcoming Chargers-Texans game that's getting set to kick off less than an hour from now. Hey, guys.
Yes, the betting Avengers are assembling. Me and Todd don't always get to work together, but this is very exciting, so everyone should be paying close attention here. Todd, let's start in the passing game. Let's both give our best prop looking at the quarterbacks here. What do you got?
So, Mackenzie, I'm going to go to C.J. Stroud, and when you look at his numbers for a full body of work, he's a quarterback that holds on to the football for a long time in the pocket, and you mentioned him in the same breath as the Lamar Jacksons, the Jalen Hurts, and some of the more mobile quarterbacks. I'm not sure that's something that Bobby Slowick wants to see from CJ today. I think it's got to be a short, controlled passing game. And when we look at CJ Stroud since the late bye week for the Texans, the deep ball hasn't really been a big part of their arsenal in terms of connections. I'm going to take him under 35.5 yards for his longest completion. When I assess this Chargers defense, they have a lot of questions that they still have to answer, but I think they're going to focus on trying to neutralize the effectiveness of Nico Collins, give up some of the short stuff underneath those secondary options, and I'm not sure that massive, explosive, chunk yardage play is going to be there. I'll take Stroud under 35.5 yards for his longest completion.
All right, not necessarily how I wanted to kick this off because I'm kind of disagreeing with you in a way here. We both could cash this, but I am going to C.J. Stroud too. I'm going to go to his passing touchdowns here, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Sportsline model has him projected for 1.5, but when you're getting that nice plus money, certainly worth the sprinkle there. He's gone over this number in 3 of his last 4 games, and even in Week 18 against Tennessee, you only saw 6 attempts, but he did get a touchdown, so the ratio there is still looking pretty decent to me. Again, a good plus money play. We don't necessarily have a ton of value on it, but I do think this could be a higher scoring game when you are looking at these two defenses when they play actual playoff caliber teams. Now, let's go over to the receiving market a little bit here because we have a lot of guys to target, including my own Ladd McConkey. Go Dogs here, but who are you looking at in that receiving market?
You know, I'm not sure you're going to be able to root for Ladd McConkey. I mean, he may be matched up with a former Bulldog in his own right in Kamari Lassiter, so you can probably be conflicted when the Chargers are on offense today. But I'm going to go to a different direction, an SEC wide receiver nonetheless, this one hailing from Alabama on the Houston Texans side in John Mechie, and I'm going to take him over his receiving total in the low 20s. We talked a little bit about Nico Collins and how he is the true alpha right now in this Houston Texans receiving room, and that's not lost on the Chargers in terms of trying to scheme him out of the game plan. For me, as I look at Mechie, I think he's the guy that has to provide a little bit of the X factor here. I'm going to take him over 22.5 yards and think he can be that security blanket for C.J. Stroud.
All right, this is where we're literally going head-to-head here, I feel like, because I'm going a little bit down the board here as well with the Texan receivers, but I'm going with Robert Woods because you know what? I think they basically have the same chance of similar receiving yards here, but you get 9.5 when you get Robert Woods here. The Sportsline model has them projected for the same amount of yards on the same amount of receptions, and if I'm getting 9.5 on one of them over 22.5 with Mechie, I'd rather do that. This is a guy that sees production and is impactful when other players are injured. With Tank Dell on the sideline, this is when we start to see him thrive. You see it right there with these splits the past couple weeks. He is very much involved in this offense, double-digit receiving yards through his past 4 games. So again, this isn't a coincidence. I think this is something he can certainly get over, and I think he too will be a security blanket for C.J. Stroud here. All right, let's hit the ground running here. Let's talk about some running backs, maybe quarterbacks. What's your best rushing prop?
So I'll go to the backfield for the Chargers, and I know this is a number that's been on the move. Unfortunately, Mackenzie, not the best of it with J.K. Dobbins here, but I'm going to take him under his rushing total in the high 50s. When you look at this Houston Texans defensive front, they're as healthy as they've been all season long, and I think they realize they can play their defensive backs on an island against that underwhelming receiving core for the Los Angeles Chargers. So what does that mean? You try and sell out and stop the run, and when you look at Dobbins' numbers, he has kind of been the X factor for this Chargers team and more or less the bellwether back. When this team is clicking offensively, Dobbins has put up some crooked numbers. I'm not sure he's going to find it easy sledding running the football on the interior here. So for me, I'm going to take him under his total in the high 50s and expect the Texans to try and make the Chargers one-dimensional and force Justin Herbert to beat him through the air or maybe with his legs.
All right, I like it. I'm going to the other team here, though. I'm going to Joe Mixon, going with an under as well, going under 71.5 rushing yards. I would act on this. Obviously, we're getting closer to kickoff, but this is steaming down. People are realizing outside of that 100-yard burger we saw from him in the beginning of December, he's been really inefficient. You're talking 23 yards on 12 carries inefficient and through 5 games. So down the stretch, he just has not been the same. And after Dameon Pierce was explosive in Week 18, I wouldn't be surprised if they feel like they want to go to him for some fresh legs if we see Joe Mixon be a little bit inefficient. You're looking right there. Rushing yard total just simply not there. 71.5 feels like a very, very high number for him. So we're both going unders here. All right, let's have a little fun here, okay? Let's get a little higher in the payout situation. Let's talk about some first touchdown bets here. Todd, what do you have for us?
So I'm going to take something that's a little bit chalky here, and when you assess the Houston Texans' full body of work, this is a team that's actually played pretty well in the first half of games so far this season. From an ATS standpoint, one of the best in the business in that department, and I'm going to focus on some of their skill position players. I'm going to take their alpha in the room at the wide receiver spot, and I'm not sure exactly what Nico Collins will do in terms of his over-under in receiving yards for this game, but I do think he can become one of the primary weapons that C.J. Stroud is going to look to if the Houston Texans have a couple of snaps in that red zone. A price tag is 7-1, too hard for me to ignore, and I like the points you made talking about Joe Mixon and how ineffective he's been. He's kind of been the more reliable weapon that they've leaned on, but I think C.J. Stroud looks to throw the ball into the end zone today against this Chargers secondary. I'll take Nico at 7-1 for that first touchdown.
All right, I like it. Look, I'm not going to, you say chalk. I mean, 7-1 is pretty solid value there. I'm actually going a little chalkier here with J.K. Dobbins plus 600 for that first touchdown. Again, I think this Chargers offense overall will have a ton of success today, hopefully early success as well. And again, Dobbins, it's basically a zigzag touchdown situation for him. We have him projected essentially with the same amount of touchdowns as Mixon, but you're getting a way, way, way better price for him for first touchdown. So that's why I like him here. And as far as a quick little anytime touchdown, do love Quentin Johnson. I know you're on the same page as me there. Hasn't been the same exact story as all the other guys in his draft class being an immediate success, but not to say he has been efficient this season. So we certainly love him as well. All right, that's all we got time for. I'd like to know what you guys think over at the desk about some of our bets today.
I'm locking in the last one. Anytime touchdown, Quentin Johnson. I like that you both are confident in that and on the same page. We're taking notes over here, Mackenzie. Great stuff as always. More from us when we return here on CBS Sports HQ. Fantasy expert Jamie Eisenberg joins us next for his DFS ahead of Wild Card Weekend. Stay with us. here on CBS Sports HQ, where the 2025 NFL playoffs kick off when the number 5 seed Los Angeles Chargers visit the number 4 seed Houston Texans. There's the Chargers offense led by quarterback Justin Herbert warming up. Herbert, as we know, has been consistent under center for the Chargers. His counterpart, CJ Stroud, has the ability, though, to make it happen in all 3 levels of the field. Who will have the edge today? For more on Wild Card Weekend from a fantasy perspective, let's say hello to our own Jamie Eisenberg. Jamie, it's great to see you. Walk us through what you have for your DFS lineup ahead of Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, so Jordan, this is for the entire slate on FanDuel, so from Saturday through Monday night. And I really like the situation Monday night for the Rams. They've been bad offensively, specifically Matthew Stafford. The last 3 games have not been good for him from a fantasy perspective. Obviously, from a win-loss perspective, he's loving things. But we have not seen the best of Stafford, and I think we will against the Vikings. You go back to Week 8 when these 2 teams met. It was the first game back for Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp when they had their extended absences. And Stafford threw 4 touchdowns against this defense. This defense has been really good. We know that. But they do give up some big plays, and I think this is where Stafford comes in. Remember, you want to try to be different. You're trying to win some money here. Everybody's going to be looking at Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson. I think Stafford to Puka Nacua is the stack you want to play because Nacua has just been so consistent. I'm going to bring it back on the other side with Jordan Addison. Did not have a good game against the Rams in that first meeting, but he's been so hot lately. Throughout what happened in Week 18 against the Lions, you go back to 3 previous weeks, he's been on fire, finding the end zone 5 times in his last 6 games, so I think he's going to score in this matchup. Love the setup for 2 Buccaneers, Bucky Irving and Jalen McMillan. I think both those guys will be key parts of this offense. Love the way Bucky's been playing. I think this run defense has obviously struggled. Then you look at Jalen McMillan's got a nice touchdown streak, 7 touchdowns in his last 5 games. I'll also play Austin Eckler in this game because his price is amazing, and I think we'll see the Commanders chasing points. Bucs have struggled with pass-catching running backs, and I like the setup for J.K. Dobbins as well. He's just been such a go-to option for the Chargers to help them with their backfield, so I like the setup for him. And then there's a couple Ravens that I like. One in this lineup, one we'll talk about from a prop perspective. But Mark Andrews, we know he's been done a great job finding the end zone. Steelers have really struggled with tight ends. They gave up a touchdown to Andrews the last time these 2 teams met, also with Isaiah Likely. But we know there's no Zay Flowers, so hopefully we see an uptick in targets for Mark Andrews, Likely, and then the guy that we'll talk about with a prop here for the Wild Card Weekend.
I love those 2 statements. We're always trying to be different, and we're always trying to win money. So speaking of money, let's lock in your best prop ahead of Wild Card Weekend, Jamie.
Yeah, it's Rashad Bateman over 3.5 catches. You're getting that number, juicing our favorite, plus 112. So he has 3 games this season with at least 8 targets. And all 3 of those games, he's gotten 4+ catches. He's actually scored a touchdown in all 3 of those games. So he might not be a bad idea for an anytime touchdown in this game against the Steelers. The secondary is obviously struggling. He scored against them the last time these 2 teams met. But we are looking at his receptions being up. And so with the targets potentially being up, they should, because Flowers not going to be there. Lamar Jackson should lean on his experienced guys. So that's Bateman, that's Andrews, that's Likely. I think all 3 of these guys certainly see a bump up in production, bump up in targets, bump up in catches. I think Bateman's going to be one of these games where he gets those 8 targets, gets those 4+ catches, and we cash this prop.
All right. Thanks so much. Jamie Eisenberg joining us here live on CBS Sports HQ. There is one final look of Jamie's top props ahead of NFL Wild Card Weekend that is getting ready to kick off. Moment from now, a little less than 30 minutes from kickoff, actually. More from us, though, here on CBS Sports HQ when we return. Don't go anywhere. More coverage on the other side. Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. Doubleheader of NFL wildcard action on tap today. It begins in Houston, but followed by a nightcap in a frigid Baltimore where the Ravens and Steelers will clash in a classic divisional showdown. We welcome you back onto our set here, CBS Sports HQ studios. I'm Jordan Giorgio alongside Logan Bryan and Danny Cannell. You guys know, like, a lot of people have been talking about the Ravens and the pressure that John Harbaugh has on him, but I think the same could be said for Mike Tomlin and company. He has just as much pressure. 3-8 in his last 13 seasons in the playoffs. Harbaugh 3-6 in his last 11. With all that kind of being said, Logan, who do you think has the most pressure on them today?
Man, listen, there's pressure on both of them because it's the playoffs and this is what we played for and this is what it all comes down to. But both of them are okay in their careers. Yeah. Like, if they don't win this game, and if the Steelers wouldn't want to move on from Mike Tomlin, he'll be hired in a second. They're both great coaches. I would say more pressure is probably on Harbaugh because he has an MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson, and you got to get some championships in this era with Lamar Jackson. How long can you keep Lamar and Derrick Henry together? How long is Lamar going to be there and whatnot? Everyone's going to be happy and healthy, and the O-line's going to be playing well. So that, I would say that Mike Tomlin's so proven this league, and John Harbaugh is so proven this league. So I think they're not sweating it other than the fact that they want to win a Super Bowl this year. The Ravens have great odds to win a Super Bowl this year. They're my Super Bowl favorite this year personally. The Steelers, they need better quarterback play. And when Mike Tomlin had Ben Roethlisberger playing quarterback, then the pressure was on him. But when you don't have great quarterback or consistent quarterback play, you're just not going to contend for championships every single year. Your defense will play well. Your special teams will play well. You'll be well coached. But you can't win a championship if you don't have the quarterback play consistent.
I don't think either of these coaches really are under a ton of pressure because of the resumes they bring in. I'll say slightly more on Mike Tomlin because of the way the season finished, the four-game losing streak. Like, it feels like the Steelers fans might be getting a little bit restless. But let's be real here. There is no debate show with people yelling at each other about either one of these coaches. They're yelling about Lamar Jackson. Like, that's the guy who has more pressure than anybody. I think that kind of helps John Harbaugh because if they lose this game, it's all going to get up. Lamar Jackson's going to be the center of conversation. Like, what's wrong with him? When's he going to take that jump? But either one of these coaches, I think, are pretty much going to be exempt from the conversation of who's under more pressure. I mean, it's the NFL. There's always, what have you done for me lately? I'd lean slightly towards Tomlin, but I don't think either one of these guys are going to catch much heat.
Yeah, pressure's always on for head coaches. You guys know that firsthand playing in the league, but always for the quarterbacks as well. Let's dive deeper into that Lamar Jackson conversation. Just how important, Logan, is it for him to get a win? He's a heavy favorite at home against a division rival for his legacy.
Yeah, he has to get this win. I mean, they're the better team. And he is a MVP quarterback year in and year out in the regular season. And he is not a top two quarterback year in and year out in the playoffs. And that is a drop because when you're playing at such an elite level all year long and in the playoffs, we don't see the production the same. Obviously, on these shows, we're going to sit there and we're going to talk about that. So this is a team that should walk all over the Steelers team. They've done it the last meeting. They have a great addition in the backfield with Derrick Henry. They're just a better team. And we got to see Lamar Jackson play to form. Now, he doesn't have to play as perfect as he had in the past in the playoffs because he has help. His defense has stepped up as late in the season, and then obviously Derrick Henry. And I was part of a Derrick Henry Tennessee team that knocked off an MVP Lamar Jackson. But now they're together. So Shaq and Kobe are together. He's got a big guy with him to help him out. So he's got to get it done as a leader in the face of the franchise. At the end of the day, man, Lamar Jackson, it's on him, and I think he will get it done.
It takes a while. I mean, Peyton Manning, it took a long time for him to get his first Super Bowl. Like, it does. But it is, to your point, this is how you judge greatness. This is how your legacy is determined by your postseason success. If he loses this game, it's a disaster. As you know, a 9.5 point favorite. It's a rival. The Steelers come limping in. And I don't think he will. I think Lamar will win. But as far as the Super Bowl goes, I think it's coming. I think it's only a matter of time. I thought the Derrick Henry addition was huge. It feels like it's really opened up this offense, and it's kind of taken some of that load off of Lamar's shoulders, and it's also opened things up in the pass game and the run game. It felt like that move was made to make a run. Also, and I know the Chiefs are as good as they always are, but they feel vulnerable because they haven't been as dominant. So it does feel like if there was an opportunity for the Ravens to knock the Chiefs from their perch eventually in the AFC, this would be the year to do it.
All right, well, for more on Lamar Jackson and the very latest out of Baltimore, let's go ahead and welcome in our own Melanie Collins, who is braving the cold for us live out at M&T Bank Stadium. Mel, it is so great to see you. Let's start with Lamar Jackson's kryptonite here, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 2-4 against them. They're without their top target in Zay Flowers today. So how is this Ravens team actually looking to get it done against their rival?
Yeah, you guys mentioned it. The Steelers have been Lamar Jackson's kryptonite. He's 1-2 against them on this field at home. For whatever reason, historically, he's struggled to find his rhythm against the Steelers. They've been able to force him into making turnovers, and they've been able to contain him with his legs. It almost seemed like it was a mental thing for Lamar Jackson against the Steelers up until Week 16 of this season. He beat the Steelers on this very field by a wide margin, and he said post-game he felt like he finally got the monkey off of his back. I think that was the confidence builder that Lamar Jackson needed to continue to buck the trend against these Steelers. He's not the same Lamar Jackson this season. He's playing his best football yet. He has a much more balanced offense with Derrick Henry and company, but certainly all eyes are going to be on Lamar Jackson in this game tonight and his performance against the Steelers given the past.
Yeah, we will all be watching. Meanwhile, this Steelers team limping into the playoffs with 4 straight losses. This offense is just sputtering as of lately. What is the message surrounding Pittsburgh heading into kickoff?
Yeah, the message is they're treating this game like it's a clean slate. They've earned their right to be here, and it is a fresh start. It's a new season against the Ravens tonight, but they need to do a number of things if they want to get it done against this Ravens team tonight. You mentioned it, 4 straight losses to close out the regular season, averaging just 14 points per game offensively. Number one, they've got to get George Pickens going. He had just 1 reception for 0 yards on 6 targets in Week 18. He and Russell Wilson have got to get on the same page. Russ has said he is our momentum catcher. As George goes, so does our offense. So they got to get going with George Pickens. Secondly, Russell Wilson has got to get the ball out quickly. He's taken 12 sacks over the last 3 weeks. That is not going to hold up well against a Ravens defense second in the league in generating sacks. So he's got to get the ball out quickly. He can do that by utilizing the screen game with his running backs, and that's the third thing that they need to do. The Steelers loves to establish physicality in the run game with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. They got to do that if they want any chance against the Ravens tonight.
All right, Mel, we'll be watching for it. Always great to see you. Stay warm out there and have fun. We'll be watching later on CBS. It's a good wild card matchup in the AFC. 2 division rivals going head-to-head. We talked about Lamar Jackson. Let's now get into Russell Wilson here. How much is Russell Wilson's future in Pittsburgh riding on this game, Logan?
This game will help. It'll help him stay a little bit longer for sure, but I think what we've seen over the regular season, especially toward the end, is just tailed off. It's been inconsistent. I think the Steelers are going to look at the quarterback position in the offseason regardless. And it might not be a great quarterback draft class. It's not. The free agent might not be out there, and you might have to extend Russell Wilson in that in that case on a short-term deal. But he has not played consistent enough. The offense has not been any bit of a power S to continue that at the quarterback position without looking at it. And if your offense has to go through a George Pickens, like he goes as we go, then you're not doing your job at quarterback, right? The run game's got to dictate that. Russ's accuracy, his decision-making, ability not to take sacks, his total TD to turnover ratio, all that stuff has to be better. It can't go through just your ex-receiver who's a young player that's still growing in his own right. So I think that answer right there is really fitting of him, and that has not been the season that he might have hoped of. It started off solid. It tailed off. I think they got to look at the position regardless. It may be Russ going forward, but I don't think this game dictates it.
Probably determines on what Russ is looking for as far as a contract either, because he's on a bargain basement deal because of everything that transpired with Denver this past offseason. I think they probably are going to look in a new direction unless Russell's willing to do that. Maybe Russ is like, I'm happy here. I can potentially turn this team around. I can play this role of mentor. But I think it does speak volumes that we talked about this earlier, that they have a package for Justin Fields to try to generate some offense because the offense has been sputtering so much down the stretch. So I think, speaking of pressure, I think there's a ton ton on Russell Wilson. And if it goes the way the odds makers think, this might be the last time you see him in a Steelers uniform.
To put a bow on all this conversation, I know you called it would be a disaster if Lamar Jackson lost this game today. Heavy favorites. I believe the last time I checked, they were a 9-point favorite in this game. They're at home against a division rival. Which team would a loss be more heartbreaking to? This Ravens team with Lamar on this incredible MVP quest season. You know, all the talk about this year, Danny and Logan being so different for Baltimore, or Russell Wilson and company suffered 4 losses in a row, haven't won a playoff game since 2016.
I mean, Ravens losing would be a heartbreaker. I think they have Super Bowl aspirations. Although they're the 3 seed, I think they like where they're at. They're playing good football down the stretch. They found their defense. They have Derrick Henry for this playoff push, and Lamar Jackson's at his peak prowess. So I think if they lose this game, they will be utterly shocked. The Steelers, on the other hand, they're looking for a Hail Mary here. Yeah. They're trying to find an upset. They might play 2 quarterbacks. They're trying to do so. I'm not saying they're expecting a loss, but the Steelers know that they're the underdog and know they got to play a perfect game to win, where the Ravens would have to play completely bad and can be completely shocked to lose this one.
Devastating if the Ravens lost this. At home is almost a double-digit favorite. That would be devastating.
I would hate to be in that locker room post-game if that does come to fruition. We will wait and see. As you take a look at the Steelers' past 5 playoff games, as I mentioned, they have not won a playoff game since 2016, seeking their first since that AFC Championship game at New England today at M&T Bank Stadium. Quick break for us, but the countdown to kickoff continues here on the NFL Wildcard Weekend on CBS Sports HQ. Mackenzie Brooks will join us next for a bracket breakdown of the outcome projections of each game leading up to the Super Bowl. Stick around. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, the NFL playoffs are here, and so are the Sportsline playoff projections. Mackenzie Brooks is back with us to break this all down. We're going to go through each round all the way up to the the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you're going to walk us through some of those projections, and we'll begin in the AFC with the wild card round. Take us through it, Kenz.
Yeah, we'll start with our own game on CBS here. We'll start with the Chargers at the Houston Texans. Now, there is a reason if you are the higher seed and you are hosting a team with a quarterback who's never won a playoff game and you are underdogs, I'd say it's for a reason here. So we do like the Chargers in this game. They are playing their best football right now offensively. You look at the last 3 games of the season, just churning out points after that rut that they did have in that 17-point, situation they were in. The Texans, their defense puts up great numbers, but against who? When you look at really good playoff teams, they're allowing, 30 points per game to strong caliber teams. So I think the Chargers offense will have a pretty easy time here. And then we will go to this nice divisional rivalry game. I don't want to touch the spread because that is just disgusting, but I do feel like the Baltimore Ravens will absolutely win this game. Again, I know he has problems sometimes against the Steelers, but you have Derrick Henry and you have Lamar in this bad weather. This is a game of running backs, and I'm willing to bet my money on Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry winning that battle 10 times out of 10. So we do like Baltimore here. We'll move down. Broncos, rookie quarterback going into Bills Mafia. That story really does just write itself here. We talk about the Bills at home. The model recognizes that the Bills are an absolute juggernaut offensively at home, averaging 34 points per game, and they can do it in bad weather. We've seen them do it in bad weather, and the model would typically recognize if we have to downgrade them, but we have, and they still are scoring over their team total of 28.5 here. So let's move on over to the NFC. Vikings, Rams. Now, these are just 2 teams that honestly the model just doesn't really love. Like, it's just, who do we like? Not like less, basically, is what we're looking at here. Now, we like Minnesota just slightly against the Rams. I think people remember that Bills game when they put up like 42 points, I believe, but that was, a statistical aberration, if you will. That was followed by like a 12-point game, 13-point game. Like, it's not necessarily that offense we saw with the Bills. So we like Minnesota to move on with Mr. Sam Darnold. Then we're going to head to your Commanders here and the Bucks. We are going to take the Bucks. Now, I'll just keep it short and simple, right?
Okay.
The Bucks are either like 70% of the time they rock, 30% of the time they are so horrific. But we're going to go with the 70% here. Should be a close game, but we do think the Bucks come out on top against the rookie in Jaden Daniels. We'll head on down to my Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Packers here. Now, I'm not too confident about this spread, but this isn't a betting segment. Who has the greater than 50% chance to make it out of the wild card round? That is going to be the Eagles here, especially when you see we have to downgrade Jordan Love. You don't have Christian Watson. You don't have the deep threat. You don't have Jair Alexander. The Ravens, the Eagles have their own injury issues, but I think the Packers are just struggling a bit more, and their momentum as well here.
All right, I'm going to let you take a quick breather, and I do want you to pull up, because I know you have some of the projected scores, because I am interested. As we now look, we have our divisional rounds set. Let's begin with the Chargers and the Chiefs up there.
Yeah, so this is when we can start looking at some scores here. Now, we have the Chiefs beating the Chargers 24-20. You look at that Chiefs defense at home, allowing only 19 points per game. This is where we'll see the Chargers offense run into some problems. And you just talk about Patrick Mahomes with some fresh receivers. He has rest as well. Very hard to fade this team the way they're operating right now. So we do like them to make it out of the round. Just four-point victors there, if you will. And then we'll go down here to the Baltimore Bills. Yeah, Baltimore Bills. There you go, Kenz. Buffalo Bills hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this is a very controversial play here, but we do have the Bills winning this game 27-24. I love Lamar Jackson as much as the next guy. I think he should be the MVP. However, in cold weather, if I have to trust a quarterback and running back duo in the cold weather, gotta have it, bulldoze your way into the end zone type of situation, it's going to be Josh Allen and James Cook for me here. And that's really about that cold weather to me.
All right, before we move on, class is in session over there. I don't know, producer Boney, if we have a shot of the guys just relaxing on set over there, but Logan Ryan has a problem with this latest matchup. Go ahead, tell the class.
She literally said a quarterback, running back duo to bulldoze their way into the end zone. I thought she was
not take Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
In the cold, have you seen Lamar Jackson in the cold?
James Cook's a Florida baby too.
Listen, you talk about like red zone efficiency between these two. You talk about both quarterback quarterback duos. Again, you just saw I love Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. As far as your amount of rush attempts and your conversion to touchdowns, Josh Allen and James Cook are eating them for breakfast in that category. When you look at the ratio and the efficiency, and they're on their own home field here, and they're in the cold weather that they thrive off of, and we know Lamar Jackson doesn't there. So that's why, listen, close game, okay? I'm not saying they're winning by a touchdown here, people. Everyone hold your horses. But in those clutch situations, that's why we take the Bills over the Ravens.
She rests her case, gentlemen. Moving on, let's get to the NFC here now, Kens.
All right, we are going back to Minnesota and the Lions. It's something we're all familiar with. Now the model learns, and the model learned that the Lions can clearly take care of this team, right? I know they have a battered defense, but they had enough great defensive schemes to move past that. This team has moved past adversity. Again, Minnesota, you have Sam Darnold, always just do regression to the mean is to have those turnovers. I do think they come out in the playoffs as well. So we have the Lions basically same projected score as we had in Week 18. Why would we change that? Then we move on. We have the Bucs and the Eagles. This is going to be a lot different than last playoffs, okay? I promise. I mean, the Bucs had a 200-yard advantage in the passing game, okay? I don't think we see that. I talked about it earlier this season, right? These Eagles, they have these rookie corners that really just needed time to develop themselves. And by now, you saw that switch in the second half of the season. They've been phenomenal. So I think this is definitely going to be a harder task for Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield doesn't think he's Lamar Jackson, but sometimes he thinks he's Cam Newton, where he can just like take on defenders, like gets out of the pocket. I do not think this Eagles defense, this Eagles pass rush will allow you to do that. I think we'll be quickly humbled by that. Again, another close game here, but we'll stay with the NFC because this is a very, very, very close game. Now, if this was a neutral site game, we would have Philly favored. However, we make this a 1-point victory for the Lions just because of that advantage there. Again, they've been, if we didn't see the defense perform the way they did against Minnesota, I would have more qualms with this team, but seeing what they were able to do, I still think they can carry that to the NFC Championship. So very, very close game. It's just about that home field advantage there for the model. And here we get a little more controversial again. We have the Bills beating the Chiefs.
Finally, an upset.
A single point down.
He was waiting for that. He was waiting for that.
This is their time. Listen, we're set. Look, the Kansas City Chiefs, like if you take away their record, and the model obviously accounts for a record, but it's not blindly looking at your record. It's looking at the stats. Statistically, this is a 9-win team. They're 6th in our power ranking. They're 3rd in point differential in their own division. So you can understand when data sees that, they don't necessarily just automatically assume they're the best team in football based off their record. We do like Josh Allen and the Bills here, and we get to our Super Bowl. Dun, 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 dun. Bills versus Lions, and we have the Bills just beating the Lions in this game. Again, super, super close game, but ultimately love Josh Allen as we have all year and all of his weapons with him.
All right, we will leave it there. I absolutely love the confidence in Josh Allen and company as you take a look here at the odds to win the Super Bowl. The Bills, if you get up in now, have the 4th best odds to win. Value. We love plus money there at plus 600. Mackenzie Brooks, always great stuff. More to come here on CBS Sports HQ. On the other side, we put it all on the line. Best bets ahead of Wild Card Weekend are on the way. Stay with us. We are minutes from kickoff from NRG Stadium in Houston, where the 2025 NFL playoffs kick off. It's the Chargers and Texans in the first game of the NFL wildcard round. Buckle up and get ready to leave it all on the line. We're going to get set to make some best bets ahead of this wildcard weekend, and Todd Furman is here to kick things off. Todd, what do you got for us?
This isn't going to make casual fans all that thrilled. I don't expect much in the way of fireworks, especially early on in this football game. You look at two teams that want to establish that line of scrimmage, want to run the football with Joe Mixon on one side and J.K. Dobbins on the other. I think both these defenses will be up for the task early, and unless a team has to chase, I just don't see a path to this game getting loose in the first half. I'll go under the first half total at 20.5 between the Chargers and Texans.
All right, Todd kicking things off for us here on CBS Sports HQ. We welcome you back to our set. It's Mackenzie Brooks, Logan Ryan, Danny Cannell with you. Danny, what do you got for your best bet ahead of the weekend?
So I'm looking at the Steelers-Ravens game. We all think the Ravens are going to win, right? So the Steelers, in their last 5 playoff losses, they've been outscored 66-0 in the first quarter. They start slow. The Ravens come out on fire. I'll lay the 2.5 first quarter for the Ravens.
That's a good nugget. I like it. Logan, what do you got for us?
I'm looking at this Houston game. I like Houston in this one. I made that take a little bold. I like C.J. Stroud. He's going to have to play well. He's going to have to pass for at least 2 touchdowns. I think he'll do that. The Chargers have a great defense. When they get down to the red area, they're going to stop the run. That's going to let C.J. Stroud pass it in at least twice.
That's good for your bet that you placed earlier.
I was going to say,
I like you're on the same play.
Yeah, I like the over here. I think people are giving both of these defenses a little too much credit for the caliber of teams they've put up those stats against. I think they will both have a pretty easy time getting into the end zone. I love the way the Chargers are playing. I think the Chargers definitely get the bulk of this over for us, but I wouldn't be surprised. C.J. Stroud, maybe 2 passing touchdowns to help us out there as well.
All right, I'm also eyeing this Ravens-Steelers game with Zay Flowers out. Give me a Rashad Bateman anytime touchdown. All right, gentlemen, ladies, take your places. The fun is about to begin. Kickoff is right around the corner from NRG Stadium. Enjoy the game, everybody.
We've finally arrived. Well, some of us. Playoff time in the NFL where questions earn answers. Like, what's in the sauce? New place, same pace. With Harbaugh riding right into Houston.
Give each other a high five.
Or something as simple as, you again? Flat-footed versus full speed for a 3rd time this season.
Touchdown, Ravens!
Is it finally your time? Allen and the Bills with eyes on the summit. A journey that starts with its own mountain to climb.
Oh, the play of the year in the NFL!
Maybe, how's everyone feeling? Hurts, Saquon, defense, and sometimes dysfunction. The Eagles trying to finish what they started in the desert, but first one sent from the tundra.
All that we go through, all that we've been through, even this moment right here. Show me something tonight, man.
We'll have to wait till Sunday night to find out. Is it better to bear the scars or know no better? The cardiac commanders.
It's a miracle!
And the one who's all heart.
Keep building this thing. Box on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Then Monday you wonder if that was just a bad day or is another one coming?
Touchdown, L.A.!
Because careers are not defined by what you do in the fall. History only measures you from here.